Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai, Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Mahabhagavat Shri Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jīva Gopala Bhatta Dashagunath, Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari, Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadādhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gaura Mandala, Vraja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. Shri Gopāṣṭamī Titi ki jai. Shri, what is it? Shamali Dhamali Jata Gawa, no, Gai Gan ki jai. Dhenugan ki jai. Yeah, Dhenugan ki jai. Shri, uh, Shri no, what is it? Disappearance Day of Shri Dhanañjaya Pandit ki jai. Shri Gadādhara Das Ṭhākura ki jai. Shri Śrīnivāsācārya ki jai. To the Ashubhati Rubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari O Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Okay, so let's do Jaitanya. Let me switch this background. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale. One second. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Prabrajantamanupettamapetta Krityang Dvaipayano Virahaka Tara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravobhine Dustang Sarvabhuta Hridayang Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shrindatang Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvavadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina iti vigyaya radhe tvang nayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Shiptashtakama madhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadādhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Madhavi Didi, Gargaraj Ji, Champak Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantaramurti Mataji. Any extra Kartik bhajans? Yeah, I can share with you the list of kirtans that I sing at nighttime later on. Just have to remind me. All right, so yesterday we read this very interesting purport by Srila Jīva Gosvāmī from Jīva Gosvāmī's Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī on verse 8. And he was basically summarizing everything, all the previous verses that we went over. But we didn't read Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura's commentary. But first, let's just go over these verses again. Oh, thanks for sending that link. I completely forgot to share it. All right. So, the last verse of Gopi Gita. Gopis say, "Hey Priya, O precious one, your feet, more tender than lotus flowers, we place on our hard breasts, very, very carefully, lest we hurt them. Now it is night, and with those soft feet, you are roaming around somewhere in this remote forest. Are they in pain, bruised by pebbles and sharp stones? The thought of this sets our heads spinning, causing us to fall in a swoon. We live only for your sake. We are yours. We are yours." Shri Shukadeva said, "O king, in this way the Vraj Gopis sang out their laments in various captivating ways as they were drowning in separation from their beloved Sri Krishna. Unable to control themselves in their pitiful condition, they began to weep loudly in very sweet, heart-rending voices that resounded with their ardent desire for their lover. Oops, I skipped one. At that moment, Sri Krishna, the crest jewel in the dynasty of Shurasen, appeared among those wailing damsels of Vraj. His lotus face was blossoming with a gentle smile. A garland of forest flowers hung around his neck, and his body was wrapped in dazzling yellow cloth. His beauty was such that it turned the mind of Kamadev, who himself stirs the hearts of everyone. The gopis' eyes blossomed with the bliss of love on beholding that their most beloved Sri Krishna, who is even more attractive than tens of millions of cupids, had personally appeared in their midst. They had been helpless, but now all of them stood up together, as if their divine life airs had re-entered their lifeless bodies, revitalizing every limb with new consciousness. One gopi happily caught the lotus hand of Shori Shri Krishna between her joined palms, as Chandravali, and another one kept his arm smeared with sandalwood pulp on her shoulder. One slender Vrajasundari took Shri Krishna's chuled tambul, betel nut, in her hands. Another gopi, whose heart was agitated in separation, sat down and placed his lotus feet on her breasts. Some other gopi, completely agitated from the anger of love, had raised her eyebrows and was biting her lips as she frowned at Sri Krishna, all the while piercing him with the arrows of her sidelong glances. Jai Srimati Radharani ki Jai. Another gopi was repeatedly drinking the nectarian honey flowing from Sri Krishna's lotus face with her unblinking eyes. Shri Lalita Devi ki Jai. Yet her thirst was never quenched, just as the fully dedicated saintly devotees who always serve the lotus feet of Bhagavan are also never satisfied. One Vrajadevi took Sri Krishna into her heart through the path of her eyes, upon which she closed her eyes and embraced him within. She became immersed in the topmost bliss, and her bodily hairs stood on end, just like a perfected yogi having obtained his worshipable supersoul in meditation. Shri Vishaka Devi ki Jai. So the gopis in Vamya Bhav, who are Madhu Sneha, and who have a mood of Madhyata. So they stood far away. They didn't. It was all the Dakshina Bhav gopis who ran up to Krishna and was directly touched. But the gopis in Radharani's party, they all kept their distance. So we read this very amazing purport yesterday. There's one really kind of surprising part. This is from Bilva Mangal Ṭhākura. Let's read it. It has already been established that the first heroine, who is of the first category, described in the first couplet of verse 4, is Sri Chandravali, who is widely accepted as being Sri Radha's primary competitor. In this connection, Sri Bilva Mangal Ṭhākura said, "One time, after sporting with Sri Radhika, Sri Krishna was returning from the Mohan Kunj, the enchanting bower of Sri Radha. On the way, accidentally, he met Sri Chandravali and asked her, 'Oh Radha, are you okay?' On hearing Sri Krishna address her as such, Chandravali retorted, 'Oh Kamsa, are you okay?' Being wonderstruck, Sri Krishna replied, 'Oh beautiful damsel, oh you whose heart is bewildered, how did you develop such perverse understanding? Where did you see Kamsa?' Chandravali answered, where did you see Radha here?" Then Sri Krishna realized that she was Chandravali. Understanding his mistake, he became extremely embarrassed and lowered his face. Seeing how Chandravali so quickly and cleverly gave her reply arising from her envy, Hari smiled gently. May such Lord Hari protect us. Okay. So now we come to Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur's Sārārtha Darśinī. Let's see. It was also really interesting how Jīva Gosvāmī ended this. He said, "The great sage Sri Shukadeva has concealed the names of these cowherd damsels and has described them in a hidden way with the ornament of speech called apanuti. That is, one reveals some confidential object and then presents another meaning to cover it over." And then Jiva Goswami says, "With the permission of that great personality," so I guess that's Shukadev Goswami. "With the permission of Shukadev Goswami, I, Jiva Goswami, have shed light on this confidential pastime and artfully recorded it. Now I'm feeling shy. O Shri Krishna and your beloved sweethearts, all of you are my only shelter. Mercifully forgive the impudence of this person who has no other resort." Oh, I forgot to check the sound. 1 second. Okay. So now Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur's Sārārtha Darśinī. In great apprehension, one gopi was thinking, "Due to great good fortune, I have connected with this lover. but he is so fickle that he may leave me again. Remember the verse that we were going over? Anyways, it's going to repeat. Therefore, when she received Sri Krishna's audience, she took him and placed him in her heart, Hridi Kritva. Thus she became immersed in bliss. Then, fearing that he might fly away through the door of the eyes, she closed her eyes. Pulakit Angi. Her body broke out in horripilation, triggered by experiencing the complete and unobstructed bliss of union with her lover. Having lost her composure due to the intense desire to hold Sri Krishna in her arms, she kept her eyes closed for a long time, feeling as if she was embracing Upa Guhya Aste. She was embracing him in her heart. And because of meeting in that private place in the heart where no one could see them, there was no need to feel shy. As the three gopis mentioned in verses 6, 7, and 8 did not come close to the beloved Sri Krishna, it is understood that they are Bama, left-wing cowherd damsels. Sri Krishna should personally come to us. Why we shall never go to him? This demonstrates their mood of possessiveness, madhyata. Krishna belongs to me, which is filled with madhu sneha, affection that is sweet like honey. Therefore, it is accepted that these three are extremely intimate with Sri Krishna, Susakya, and keep him under their control. The first among these three is Sri Radhika, the topmost leader, the Yuteshwari of all the gopis. The second and third cowherd damsels are her closest girlfriends, her Sakhis, Sri Lalita and Sri Vishaka respectively. The Sri Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī describes these 7 confidants, these Sakhis, mentioned in verses 4 through 8. They are Chandravali, Shamala, Shaibhya, Padma, Sri Radha, Lalita, and Vishaka. Sri Shukadev Goswami has mentioned 7 prominent gopis, and Sri Vishnu Puran accounts for the 8th principal gopi. One cowherd damsel experienced such great bliss on seeing Govinda coming that she could only utter Krishna, Krishna, and she could not say anything else. And she should be known as Bhadra. Sri Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī quotes from Skanda Puran Dwarka Mahatma of Prahlad Samhita. One second. Wherein these 8 cowherd damsels are proclaimed as prominent out of all the 3 billion gopis. One can refer to Sri Ujjvala Nilamani to understand more about their hierarchy, as only a little bit is indicated here. And out of these 8 cowherd damsels, Sri Radha is the most prominent. Sri Padma Puran clearly states, just as Sri Radhika is dear to Sri Krishna, similarly, her pond is also dear to him. Among all these cowherd damsels, Sri Radha alone is most dear to Sri Krishna. Brihad Gotamiya Tantra affirms this. The beautiful, effulgent goddess Sri Radhika is totally absorbed in Sri Krishna. She is the most worshipable goddess, presiding over all the goddesses of fortune. All splendor exists in her. She completely enchants Krishna and is the supreme ruler. Rik Parishishta confirms this. Sri Madhav is present with Sri Radha, and Sri Radhika is present with Sri Madhav with all excellence. Just checking the comments. Okay. Sarvastha Keshavaloka Paramotsava Nirvrita Jahur Viraha Jangtapam Pragyam Pragyam Prapya Yata Jana. Seeing their beloved Keshav, the gopis experienced a great festival of bliss and were liberated from the anguish of separation, just as people become free from the pangs of material existence upon receiving the association of a great devotee of Bhagavan. Śrīdhara Swamipad's Bhāvārtha Dīpikā. Persons desiring liberation, mumukshugan, become free from the pangs of material existence, the Supreme Lord, Pragya, meaning Ishvar. Under another understanding, worldly persons become free from the pangs of material existence on receiving the association of Pragya, the Lord's topmost devotee who knows Brahman. Alternatively, when the living entity transcends the states of wakefulness and dreaming, Vishva and Taijasa, he reaches the state of Pragya, deep dreamless sleep, or Sushupti. That time, he receives the audience of the Supersoul, the indwelling witness, upon which he becomes free from the pangs of material existence. Similarly, the cowherd damsels experienced great bliss in the grand celebration of receiving audience of Sri Krishna. Thus they became free from their lamentation arising from separation. Śrīla Jiva Gopāṣṭamī Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī. Out of 300 crore, 3 billion cowherd damsels, 8 are prominent. They have just been described in the previous verses. But what happened to the rest of the Vrajadevis? Expecting this question, Sri Shukadeva Goswami speaks this verse, Sarva. In other words, Sarva, all the cowherd damsels, became absorbed in the topmost bliss, just seeing Sri Keshav. The word Keshava has been used previously in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.29.48 to convey the meaning most effulgent. Sri Keshav observes that these Vrajramanis were overly proud due to their good fortune and were now exhibiting man also. In order to quell their pride and satisfy them by dispelling their indignation, he suddenly disappeared from their assembly. However, in this 9th verse, the word Keshava has been used to indicate very beautiful hair. Moreover, in the beginning of this chapter, it is said, Tasam Avirbhut. He appeared manifesting that form which is attractive for the entire world. According to this definition, the word Keshav, Kesha or hair, along with Va, indicates the glorification of Sri Krishna's beauty, which enchants the whole universe. The import of the word Keshav in both of these verses can be accepted as the reservoir of supreme effulgence. In the explanation of the word Keshav in the previously mentioned verse, it is told that the Vrajdevis lost their effulgence due to vanishing. Similarly, it is understood that their effulgence reappeared when Sri Keshav returned. The purport is that when the sun is visible, it illuminates the world, and when it sets, the world is immersed in darkness. Similarly, the form of the most brilliant Keshav, just like the sun, is the embodiment of concentrated effulgence. When this form disappeared, the hearts of the Vrajdevis became covered with the darkness of the distress of separation. When that form of concentrated effulgence reappeared, their agitation from separation was removed, and they experienced great bliss. As Sri Krishna's darshan bestows the topmost joy, the gopis enjoyed a festival of supreme happiness. To give a suitable example, Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, Pragyam. When the embodied living entity is in ignorance upon reaching the state of deep sleep, his gross and subtle senses are inactive, and he experiences the presence of pragya. At that time, the immediate destruction of his threefold miseries begins. It is not completed, but the hope for it is set in motion. However, in this state also, the mood of ignorance remains present in an invisible form. The living entity's agitation is not completely annihilated until the ignorance is removed in it too. Until the ignorance is removed in it in toto. That means completely, right? Similarly, the Vrajdevi's anguish and separation began to disappear due to the audience of Sri Krishna. However, it did not vanish completely at once. Vanish completely at once because of the fear hidden in their hearts that Krishna may abandon us again. Alternatively, a man agitated by material existence begins to give up his distress upon receiving the association of pragya, the topmost devotees of Bhagavan. Similarly, the cowherd damsels also began to give up their grief generated from separation on attaining Sri Krishna. However, it was not completely removed at once. In this way, these two examples are useful only in showing the initiation of the destruction of pain, but not the completion of the process. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura Sārārtha Darśinī. Here, the word pragya means Parama Bhagavata, our topmost devotee, and Jana means the people agitated by material existence. Sri Shukadeva Goswami has said in connection with the description of the rainy season, Griheshu tapta nirvirna yatha chuta janagame. The living entities who are burning in the fire of household life become overjoyed by the arrival of a topmost pure devotee of Achyuta Bhagavan. 10:20:20. Similarly, the cowherd damsels who were suffering in separation received the topmost bliss upon seeing Sri Keshav, and they were relieved of their distress. Okay. Then we're going to end with this verse. Tabir vidhuta shokabhir bhagavana chuta vrita vyaro chatadikam tata purusha shakti bhiryata. O Parikshit, Bhagavan Sri Achyuta, situated in his Satchidananda form and ever possessed of divine beauty and sweetness, is looking even more attractive today, being surrounded by the gopis, who were relieved from the distress of separation. Thus adorned, Krishna appeared just like the Supersoul, encircled by his intrinsic potencies. Srila Śrīdhara Swamipad's Bhāvārtha Dīpikā. Purusha means Paramatma, or Supersoul, surrounded by his potencies such as Sattva, pure consciousness. Alternatively, Purusha means worshipper, Upasak, who is surrounded by potencies such as knowledge, strength, and valor. Purusha also means the living entity sleeping in the heart, who looks splendid surrounded by material designations. Similarly, Sri Krishna looked fabulous. I can't. Sri Krishna looked fabulously beautiful, adorned and encircled by the cowherd damsels, now free from distress. It almost sounded like, anyways, whatever. Skip that. Srila Jīva Goswami Pad's Vaiṣṇava Toṣaṇī. Giving up their pride, their mada, and sulky mood, man, all the Braj-Devis gathered together and followed Sri Krishna, whose supreme beauty manifested at the time of being surrounded by the cowherd damsels. Sri Shukadeva Goswami describes this in 3 verses B. The phrase Vidutta Shokabhi refers to the gopis, who are now totally free from the distress of separation. Sri Parashar Muni has described the special reason behind the liberation of Sri Parashar Muni has described the special reason behind the liberation of the gopis from their anguish of separation, their viraha tap. Sri Madhva appeared in the midst of those cowherd damsels and removed their distress by sweetly conversing with one, glancing at another while artfully arching his eyebrows, and touching yet another with his cooling hands. Thus courteously propitiating them, he extinguished their sorrow born of separation. In this way, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is complete in every respect, being endowed infinitely with the 6 opulences. Thus he is Achyuta, that is, he never wavers even a drop from that state of absolute completeness. This is his nature. When he met with those gopis who are the embodiment of his internal potency that manifested a special prem and freed them from the distress of separation, he began to radiate an even more spectacular beauty than before. It is indeed appropriate that Sri Krishna, situated in the midst of the breathtakingly beautiful gopis, manifested such an excellent appearance, never seen previously. Another example is given to illustrate this topic further. The Supreme Person, the Purush, or the Supreme Controller, Ishvar, manifests his form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavat Rup, should be Bhagavat Rup, who decorated by his majesty and other aspects. So the Purusha, Ishvar, Supreme Controller, he manifested as in his Bhagavat Rup, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, decorated by his majesty and other aspects of the internal potencies, looks even more beautiful. In his form as the impersonal Brahman, he does not look as beautiful. Moreover, Swayam Bhagavan, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, exudes the greatest degree of beauty. He exudes the greatest degree of beauty when surrounded by the gopis, the personifications of his internal potency's special expression of prema. Tata means O Parikshit. This term indicates the topmost compassion. It is used as a title for those who are candidates worthy of receiving compassion, or to address one's father. Many such meanings are found. Nevertheless, here we accept the meaning as compassion to reveal the most confidential pastime. The purport is as follows. Shri Shukadev said to King Parikshit, Shri Shukadev Goswami said to King Parikshit, "O, you are the recipient of my topmost mercy. For this reason alone, I am revealing this great secret to you." Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur's Sārārtha Darśinī. Any person looks exceedingly charming when arrayed with the potencies of his senses, and he loses his attractiveness when the power of the senses diminishes. The gopis, being the manifestations of Sri Krishna's internal potency, are endowed with special love and affection. When the gopis are lost in lamentation, he reflects their distress, and thus his charm and beauty are greatly diminished. Upon being freed from the distress of separation, the gopis become exceedingly effulgent and more lovely, Ujjwal. When Sri Krishna meets these cowherd damsels now glowing, his beauty increases many times over. Wow, that's an amazing statement. To repeat, a person is happy when his senses are satisfied, and he feels wretched if his senses are distressed. Similarly, Sri Krishna experiences joy in the happiness of the gopis, and he feels misery in their distress. This implies that Sri Krishna becomes fully accomplished by the cowherd damsel's love. It also implies that the gopis' love for him is ingrained in their very beings. In other words, Sri Krishna's love conforms to the gopis' love, or his love is dependent on their love. However, their love is not controlled by his. Rather, their love, reflecting their inherent natures, is independent. This principle has been elucidated in the Prabhas Khanda of Skanda Puran. 16,000 gopis had gathered in the rasa dance arena. Situated in their midst, Paramatma Janardhan Shri Krishna, the supersoul and well-wisher of all beings, appeared like a swan, or like the gopis' very life heirs. O goddess Parvati, these cowherd damsels are known as Shri Krishna's 16 potencies. He is like the full moon, and these gopis represent the 16 phases of the moon. It should be understood in this way. These 16 phases, appearing as the gopis, join together make a complete circle. The 16 parts, or the 16 phases, take in the forms of the 16 main gopis. O beautiful faced one, these 16 cowherd damsels have accepted different moods, and each one manifested in 1,000 bodies. Agama recounts, surrounded by 1 billion, that means 100 crore, beautiful damsels in the Ras Mandal, Sri Krishna looked especially wonderful. From all the evidence, it can be known that 300 crore cowherd damsels were present in the rasa dance. Among them, the previously mentioned 16,000 gopis are prominent, and out of them, 1,000 cowherd damsels are more outstanding. Among these, only 8 gopis are the most excellent, and out of these 8, only 2, Sri Radha and Sri Chandravali, are the striking chiefs. And out of these 2, Sri Radha uniquely stands supreme. The devotional scriptures have ascertained this conclusion. All right, so that's our reading for today. Let's just read this translation of the next two verses. The one and only all-powerful Sri Krishna, looking very beautiful and charming, accompanied the cowherd damsels to the extremely delightful bank of the Yamuna. There the gentle breeze was blowing, carrying the fragrance of the kunda and mandara blossoms, and the river bank was reverberating with the humming of the bumblebees, intoxicated from the sweet smell of nectar. The autumn full moon diffused its splendid rays and dispelled the darkness of the night, thus making the whole atmosphere auspicious. With her hands like waves, Sri Yamuna piled up soft sand on her shore, creating the stage for Sri Krishna's sweet Leela. Wow, what a beautiful description. So we will read that verse, the commentary, and everything tomorrow. All right, now we go on to read about Gopāṣṭamī and these 3 disappearance days. Why did I write 4 disappearance days? So spaced out. All right, so let's open up. I didn't do any preparation today, so I'm just gonna go to Viśvanātha. Śrīla Chaitanya Vani. This is Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj's website. Okay, so there's some katha by about Śrīnivāsācārya and Gopāṣṭamī. Ah, what a sweet picture. I think that's by Vasudev. He's one of my favorite artists. Okay, so let's read this. What am I doing? Putting it into reading view. It doesn't work in reading view. Oh well. Okay. November 1st is the Gopāṣṭamī in Vrindavan, India. It is also the disappearance day of Sri Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī and Sri Dhanañjaya Pandit. The following is a Bhavanuvad of the Katha given by Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj on the same tithi on October 31st, 2014 and November 21st, 2012. So many tithis are coinciding today. What is Gopāṣṭamī? See that beautiful? Isn't that such a beautiful picture? Okay, so what is Gopāṣṭamī? When Krishna was 5 years old, he was sent for grazing. Oops, to make it a little bit. He was sent for grazing calves an entire year. Oops, sorry. When Krishna was 5 years old, he was sent for grazing calves. An entire year elapsed when Brahma stole the cowherd boys. By that time, Krishna attained Poganda, 6 to 10 years. Today's tithi marks the day Krishna began herding the cows. Up to this point, he was grazing only calves. Why did I make this thing disappear? Anyways, whatever. Let me make this like a reciprocating with everyone. During that span of 1 year, Krishna bestowed his grace upon so many devotees. And what was this grace? The elderly gopis nurtured some feelings in their hearts. Krishna is not my child, so I am unable to feed him. Yet when he comes to my home of his own accord, and he steals and eats, he gives me only this much opportunity. If he were my child, I would have ample opportunity to feed him to my heart's content. And the teenage gopis also desired Krishna as their beloved. Cows are devotees in Shantaras, the mellow of neutrality in devotional service, who possess 2 characteristics. Krishna Nishta and Bhog Tyag, unflinching faith in Krishna and no taste for sense enjoyment, cessation of all desires which are not connected to Krishna. But by themselves, they are not able to do anything. They too had their heart's desire. They too had their heart's desire fulfilled to feed Krishna. And one point, I wonder if this is what endnote 2 is saying. I'm just curious what the endnote 2 says. Oh my God, so many endnotes. Okay. Endnote 2 says, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila purport by Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that in Vraj Bhumi there lies the Yamuna River with her sandy banks. There are kadamba trees, cows, Krishna's sticks, with which he used to herd the cows, as well as his flute. All of these belong to Shantaras, the mellow of neutrality in devotional service. But one thing is that there's no pure Shantaras in Vraj. So the cows will have Shantaras, but it will be mixed with Sakya or Vatsalya. One second. Okay. So Bhagavan Shri Krishna, who is the fulfiller of all the spiritual desires of his devotees, Bhakta Vancha Kalpataru, bewildered Brahma, who stole the cows and the cowherd boys, and hid them in a cave of the Sumeru mountain, thereby fulfilling Krishna's desire indirectly. Brahma's bewilderment. What the heck happened? What's going on? My computer's freaking out. There. Okay. Oh, that's a sweet picture. Okay. This incident happened while Krishna was grazing calves in the forest of Kamyavan, specifically at Bhojantali, also known as Bhojanstali. As Krishna and his cowherd friends opened their respective tiffins to eat, the calves began to wander away. The cowherd became disturbed, thinking, if the calves do not reach home safely, my parents will become angry. Thus Krishna assured them, there is no need to panic. Be seated and eat comfortably. I will go and carefully collect the calves. Everyone had faith in Krishna, so the cowherd boys continued to eat. At that time, Brahma stole the calves, and later the cowherd boys as well. Later, in one verse from the chapter Brahma's prayers to Sri Krishna, Brahmastava, Brahma laments, what wicked mind I have! Even a thief should not be disturbed while eating. One just waits till he finishes and then arrests him. But I did such an unbefitting thing. When the time arrived to return home, Krishna expanded himself into the exact number of calves and cowherd boys as were missing and returned. Could any gopi recognize that their child had not returned? No. Why not? Their tone of voice, looks, activities, and everything matched exactly. 1 year elapsed as they were going for grazing and 1 year elapsed as they were going for grazing and coming home every day, but nobody could detect any difference. 1 year here, by human measurement, is just one moment of Brahma's time, according to Brahma's own measurement. So, manena trutane hasa. When Lord Brahma returned after a moment of time had passed, it was 1 year there in Vraj. So when to see, he discovered everything was going on as usual. The cows were grazing and cowherd boys were having fun, engaged in blissful pranks. Oh, and just one thing I remember reading in Srimad Bhagavatam that, and even Balaram, he finally came to he came to know after 1 year had elapsed, but the reason why he didn't know that whole time was because he wouldn't have been able to tolerate the separation from Sridham and Subal And if he would have known, then he would have been really very disturbed in separation from them. Brahma could not understand how all the calves and cowherd boys whom he had hidden in the cave of Sumeru mountain could have escaped. Simultaneously, he looked with two faces there in Vrindavan and with his other two faces here and found both, the calves and boys, sleeping in the closed cave. He was completely bewildered, not reconcile how it had happened. While he was in such a puzzled state, Krishna, by his mercy, transformed all the calves and cowherd boys into their four-handed Narayan forms. Brahma took birth from the navel of the four-armed Kshirodaksha, and so realized, all these calves and cowherd boys are my Janak, my originator, and they are the same substance from whom I was born. Then he sang Krishna's glories, stuti, and offered him prayers. Only by grace. He said, know me, meaning, I offer my obeisances unto you, Irdya. You are my worshipable Lord. Previously, seeing Krishna as a simple cowherd boy, Brahma thought to himself, foolish people address him as Bhagavan. If indeed he were Bhagavan, then why does he lack knowledge of the Vedas? Why is he standing and eating, holding a mixture of rice and yogurt in his left hand? But now Brahma is seeing Krishna's glories. Then Krishna said, I am only a cowherd boy. Your master is the four-armed Kshirodaksha Vishnu Narayan. Brahma replied, you are the original Narayan, the Mula Narayan. By your grace, you have given me this information. My Prabhu, you yourself are all the cowherd boys and calves. In this way, Brahma glorified Krishna. The point is, until one is graced by Bhagavan with knowledge, one cannot know him. A limb of devotion. Today is Go Pujan Day. It is a prescribed ritual to offer grass to the cows. This service has been included in the 64 limbs of devotional service outlined by Sri Chaitanya Dev, originally to Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī. Datrashvadadigoravam itaskande. Oops, hey. Ashvata tulasi datri go bhumi sura Vaiṣṇava pujita pranata dhyata kshapayanti nrinam agham. That's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I'm guessing Purva 110. Yes, it is. First part, Eastern. Respect Myrobalan Amlatri. Myrobalan? I don't know how you say that. I think that's Ashvata, right? Purple leaf plum. Interesting. A tropical tree of a characteristic pagoda shape, which yields a number of useful items, including dye, timber, and medicinal products. Anyways, so respect Myrobalan, or however you say that, amla trees, and fig trees. It is mentioned in the Skanda Purana that sins of men are washed away by the holy pipala, the fig tree, and tulsi, holy basil, the Myrobalan tree, the cow, the Brahmins, and the Vaishnavas, if they are worshipped, bowed down to, and meditated upon. Wow, the fig tree. Translation and commentary by Srimad Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj. For the commentary to this verse, refer to endnote 4. Out of those, there is one instruction to worship Datri, the Amalaki tree, as well as the Ashvata, the sacred fig tree. So we have planted the Ashvata tree here in front of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, Chandigarh. Many worship the Amalaki tree today. To fast on Akadashi and follow Chaturmasya Vrat is also a part of devotional service. So it is worth celebrating and participating in today's festival. You saw there is a cow on the temple altar today. How did a cow appear there? Once, Srimati Radharani, who very much resembles Subal, Krishna's intimate cowherd boyfriend, dressed like Subal and holding a calf in her hands, she escaped to present herself for a rendezvous with Krishna. To commemorate this pastime of Srimati Radharani, which occurred on Day, a cow is placed on the altar. Only twice annually on Radhāṣṭamī and Gopāṣṭamī are Srimati Radharani's lotus feet shown, which is called Charan Darshan. Okay, now the present day celebration. So today in Vraj, they dress two boys as Krishna and Balaram, and they are taken behind the cows to depict the pastimes of Krishna. In Mathura, a beautiful procession follows, and they perform worship of cows by offering them their favorite foods like green grass and jaggery, and by bathing them nicely and decorating their bodies with various designs such as imprints of hands, smeared with turmeric, and so on. They also sport with the cows, accompanied by lots of music and songs. It is not that the cows are simply worshipped without having satisfied them by serving them. Okay, so now we're reading about Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī, the fearless preacher. Another Tithi is the Tirobhav of Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī. Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī and Srila Gadādhara Paṇḍita Gosvāmī and Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī are two different personalities. Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī's Shripat, his residence is in Ediyadaha. Interesting. It is said that he is the manifestation of Radharani's effulgence. He made even the most disobliging people chant Krishna Nam. This was his glory. The Muslim administrator, the Qazi, was antagonistic to religion and cruel. One evening, Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī fearlessly visited the Qazi's residence and asked him to chant Harinam. Intimidated, the Qazi promised, "I will chant Hari's name tomorrow." Then Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī responded, "You have just uttered the name of Hari now. Thus, where does this question of tomorrow arise?" This is Srila Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī. He was preaching alongside Nityananda Prabhu. So he was in Sakyara, he became a Madhurya Ras devotee. Here became means that he was sometimes in Sakyaras and sometimes in Madhurya, depending on the service that is to be rendered. Just like Balaram Prabhu or Nityananda Prabhu, who can be in any of the four rasas depending on the service that is needed to be rendered. Right? Yeah. Today is his Tirobhav Tithi. Interesting. And so now Dhanañjaya Pandit, Mahavairagyavan. Another whose disappearance day it is today is Sri Dhanañjaya Pandit. Whatever inheritance he received, he gave to Mahaprabhu and rather accepted a begging bowl, a banda in his hand. Thus he is known as Mahavairagyavan, the great renunciate. So in Vaiṣṇava Vandana, his glories are sung by the words Sarvasva Prabhure Diya Bhana Hate Loya. So eligibility for higher service. I pray for their causeless mercy. By their mercy, one will attain eligibility for higher service. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Janhara Komala Shraddha She Kanishta Jan, Krame Krame Tenho Bhakta Hoibe Uttam. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte, but by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first class devotee. There is no cause for fear or apprehension. Even one who has tender faith will gradually attain the position of an Uttama Bhakta, an advanced devotee. This is the process. Oh wow, it's 8:30 now. I guess we should stop. Let's see how long this Śrīnivāsācārya one is. Oops. Let me just take it out of this. I'm going to ask them to make this so it disappears when you scroll up, because it's really frustrating having it there. This is a little long. Not so long, actually. Should I read it? I can. Hare Krishna, Ganga Didi and Shasharmaji. Okay, I'll just read it. And if you need to go, that's totally fine. This is Katha that Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj spoke on May 14th, 2014, and May 10th, 2017. Śrīnivāsācārya. Today is also the appearance day of Śrīnivāsācārya. By worldly considerations, he was born in the Burdhaman district, in the village of Chakhandi. When his father Chaitanya Das was desirous of a son, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed him. Whatever you have, it will be fulfilled. And Śrīnivāsācārya appeared as his son. Śrīnivāsācārya went to Navadip, where he performed Navadip Dham Parikrama under the guidance of Ishan Ṭhākura. However, for whichever exalted Vaiṣṇava he desired to meet with, that Vaiṣṇava would have left this world before Śrīnivāsācārya could reach there. At last, he was able to meet with Gadādhara Pandit. First, when he went to ask for Srimad Bhagavatam, he noticed that the script, was fully washed away with Gadādhara Pandit's tears, and hence it was not legible. He went to another place, only to discover that the other copy was also in the same condition. So he returned to Puri, but by that time, Gadādhara Pandit too had left his body. Next, he approached Abhiram Thakur, who had a whip called the Jai Mangal. Whomever he used to beat with his whip would be blessed with Krishna Prem. He hit Śrīnivāsācārya twice before his wife stopped him, saying, "He is just a small child. He won't be able to tolerate so much Krishna Prem." Śrīnivāsācārya then went to Vrindavan and studied all the Shastras under the tutelage of Srila Jīva Gosvāmī. His companions were Nartam and Shyamananda. After the study was completed, Jīva Gosvāmī, on behalf of the Vishwa Vaiṣṇava Raj Sabha, awarded the name Acharya to Śrīnivās. Dukhi Krishnadas got the name Shyamananda, while Narottam received the name Ṭhākur Mahashaya. Together they performed Rajmandal Parikrama while visiting all the pastime places. Later, loading all the Vaishnava literature onto a bullock cart, Jīva Gosvāmī sent all three of them to Bengal to preach and make copies of the books. Śrīnivāsācārya was appointed to be in charge of this. On the way, they take turns remaining awake at night to guard the literatures. Finally, they reached the Hindu town of Vishnupur, where the king was Virahambir. They presumed that they could relax the vigilance, as they did not expect any danger from thieves or dacoits. They all slept at night, thinking, "Here the scriptures won't be stolen." But as luck would have it, the king had an astrologer who calculated and said, "A priceless treasure is passing through your kingdom." So the king sent some thieves to loot the treasure, but warned against killing anyone. Observing all three sound asleep, the thieves took away the box without any ado. But later, when they opened the box, they discovered only scriptures. Unsure if these scriptures could be of any use to them, the king kept them aside. When Nartam, Shyamananda, and Śrīnivās woke up, they realized that the books had been stolen. Grief-stricken, Śrīnivāsācārya felt great repentance, thinking, "My Guru Varga dispatched me with this responsibility, and I let them down by sleeping out of laziness." Śrīnivāsācārya was actually Gopal Bhatta Goswami's disciple, but since he had studied the Shastras under the guidance of Jīva Gosvāmī, he considered Jīva Gosvāmī to be his guru as well. He resolved, "I will not leave this place unless the stolen scriptures are recovered. It will certainly be good if I find the scriptures, otherwise I will simply leave my body in this very place." He decided to remain there while instructing Nartam and Shyamananda, "Preach whatever you've learned through the medium of kirtan." Narottam Thakur preached in North Bengal. He would sing in the Garanhati melody, and Shyamananda preached in South Bengal and Orissa in the Reneti melody, while Śrīnivāsācārya remained in Vishnupur. He also preached via kirtan using the Manoharashai melody. All three of them preached in different melodies. Śrīnivāsācārya was preaching in Vishnupur. Every day in the Sabha, there was a recitation of Bhagavat. As long as he was hearing the Bhagavat, he would cry, thinking, although my Guru Varga entrusted these books to me, they got stolen. Upon hearing the Harikatha of Śrīnivāsācārya, King Virahambir became his disciple. Observing that whenever Śrīnivāsācārya used to start speaking Harikatha, he would burst into tears. The king asked him, Guru, cry. Śrīnivāsācārya replied, I am so unfortunate that my Guru Varga entrusted the responsibility of the invaluable books that they had written upon me, but the books got stolen. Hearing this, Virahambir brought the box and opened it up to show the books. Seeing them intact, Śrīnivāsācārya felt a wave of relief and immediately sent word to Vrindavan with the news about the recovery of the books. Earlier, Srila Kaviraj Goswami had become worried, thinking that the Chaitanya Charitamrita book had disappeared from this world, but got pacified when his servant informed him that he made a copy of it before dispatching the original. In the meantime, he heard that Śrīnivāsācārya had recovered all the scriptures and became happy. And these are the worshipful Radha Madan Mohan deities of King Virahambir. Śrīnivāsācārya established the Madan Mohan deity, and it still remains there. When the kingdom was attacked, Madan Mohan blew the enemy away with a cannon named Dal Mandal. Even now, people go there to see that cannon. From Śrīnivāsācārya's succession, wait, what did he blow? He blew an enemy away. Okay, anyways. From Śrīnivāsācārya's disciplic succession came the pujaris of Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Govinda, Damodar, and all other deities also. That is why even today in Jaipur, you will observe all the pujaris are Gaudiya. This is all due to the mercy of Śrīnivāsācārya. Even the pujaris of Madan Mohan and Koroli are Gaudiyas, and the root of this is Śrīnivāsācārya. The Śrāddha Goswami Ashtakam was composed by Śrīnivāsācārya. He has brilliantly described the life history of the Goswamis in this Ashtakam, describing how they spent their days and so on. Krishnot kirtana nartana paro premamritam bhonidhi. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jīva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. Later in the Ashtakam, he also mentions how the Goswamis wandered around Vraj, experiencing the pains of separation. He Radhe Vraja Devike Chalalite, He Nanda Suno Kuta, crying out to Srimati Radharani saying, Hey Radhe Vrajadevike, where are you? Are you in a forest on the banks of the Yamuna? Are you near Radhakund? Where can I find you? Like this, they searched in a mood of Mahavival, greatly overwhelmed. Everything has been revealed in this Ashtakam. Jai Śrīnivāsācārya ki Jai. All right, so that's our reading for today. What's tomorrow? Is tomorrow any special day? Just looking at the calendar. No, there'll be 2 days, and then the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj, disappearance day of Gorkishoras Babaji Maharaj Uttana Kadashi. So that's on the 4th. And then on the 7th is Srila Bhakti Prabhupada Puri Goswami Maharaj. And then the 8th is the last day, the end of Kartik Vrat, Purnima. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh, Hari Bol, Pramila Mataji. Hare Krishna. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Guru Dev ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Shishimar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Shila Satchitaranda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Vaiṣṇava Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Shri Rupa Anuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jīva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai Nam Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadādhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Shri Gopāṣṭamī Titi ki Jai Shri Dhanañjaya Pandit ki Jai Shri Gadādhara Das Gosvāmī ki Jai Śrīnivāsācārya ki Jai Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Ras Panchadai ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Be nice to read a little bit more about Gopāṣṭamī. So maybe in this evening I'll read a little more. I'll see. I